I got a new art supply, and I'm super excited to try it out. I've had it on my mind for a while that drawing with a fountain pen with a calligraphy nib might be really interesting. This isn't a super unique idea. I've seen other artists do it occasionally. Lately, I've really been enjoying sketching with larger, more aggressive mediums, like a blunt colored pencil, or a Posca pen, or a stick of charcoal. I always prefer pencils over pens because I can get this range of mark making that's kind of difficult with a pen. That can be interesting in its own, though. Sometimes it's nice to draw with a Posca pen and every line is the same. That's kind of interesting in its own way. Anyway, I was thinking with the calligraphy nib I could get a range of different marks that you can't get with a simple small nib. As you can see, I can get thin lines or thicker lines depending on which way I hold the pen. The calligraphy nib makes this pen a lot more versatile and kind of like this all-in-one tool. It can draw your usual thinner lines, and wherever there's shadows or darker shapes I can get heavier lines, and I can even fill in large areas in black if I want to. I also like my sketching supplies to be as portable as possible. So basically just my sketchbook and one drawing tool is perfect. And I would absolutely be happy to just carry this pen with me. I really don't need anything else. I like having just one simple tool to work with because I'm really bad at making decisions. I feel bad for the lady at the stationery store because I had way too many options when picking out a pen. And it took me a while just to pick this one. One last point about why I really like this calligraphy nib. One of the great things about sketching outside is all the bright sunlight and the really clear shadow shapes. One of the keys to getting me to use my sketchbook more often is using really simple tools. So it's really easy to just take this with me in the vehicle or on a walk. Not so much the sketchbook, I have one that fits in my pocket if I go on walks. And that way it's just with me if I feel like drawing and it's not this big ordeal to set up. And I can even do a sketch really quickly, like in 3 minutes if I want. I've had a great relationship with what I call my student sketchbooks, but the sketchbook I'm drawing in right now, I call it my personal sketchbook. I've had a difficult time with it, just not really liking the drawings in it, abandoning it for months at a time, and just not really feeling good about drawing in it. I realized I had a very specific purpose for my student sketchbook, which was to practice and learn, and I didn't really have a concrete purpose for my personal sketchbook. I didn't really know what kind of work I wanted to do in it. Finally, I realized that personal to me means that I'm drawing things I care about, most likely things in my life, physically in my life. And I'm not doing it so much for the end result as kind of a meditative activity, like just to enjoy drawing and to physically be connected to the thing I'm drawing instead of viewing it through a screen. And while the goal isn't to create a finished piece of art that is amazing and I'm super proud of because it's a good drawing, I'm creating something that I will look at in the future and remember this day and remember this time in my life and just have like this physical memory. Like with this green truck, I'm very used to seeing it around. I wouldn't even think that one day it might not be, but I'm kind of learning to see my life through someone else's eyes as well as maybe through future me. One day this green truck isn't going to be around. Maybe it will be sold to another farm. Maybe it will be sitting in the bushes. So when this truck one day isn't around, or I'm somewhere else, I can look back on these drawings and remember this nice sunny day in the fall, just after the rain, harvest being held up a bit because of the rain, and just sitting outside in the sun and drawing some of the farm equipment. And the things I choose to draw don't even have to be that personal. I've never driven this grain truck. I like it. I like seeing it around, but I don't have a huge connection to it. There's something about drawing the mundane things in your life I guess that's kind of my point, the things that you take for granted. One day they might not be around, and you might look back and think, oh, I wish I had drawn that when I had the chance. I've also realized that if I draw things that I care about, that are personal to me, and draw for the act of drawing, not for the finished product, draw as a meditative act, I really can't fail. I really can't be disappointed, because it doesn't matter how it looks in the end. It matters that I enjoyed the process, and I have this little memento that will give me this very vivid memory of the time I spent on the drawing. So yeah, draw with a medium that you enjoy the feel of, and draw subjects that you care about, and draw just to enjoy it, not so much the end product. And you can't go wrong, at least in my experience. Sorry about all the wind. I don't want to completely remove the original audio because I like all the little bugs chirping and the sounds of the birds. You may be wondering why I don't rough this in pencil first, why I would draw straight in with pen. And that's partly just my way of enjoying the process. If I rough it in with pencil first, it kind of feels boring and like tracing when it comes time to draw over top. I'd rather just go for it on the first try. And so maybe it's a bit wonky, but I had a lot more fun doing it. To me, drawing it in pencil first would also kill the authenticity and the original energy that I feel when I'm drawing. Basically, it gets boring, and my drawing will feel boring because I feel bored. When I was younger, I really liked those super neat, accurate pen drawings done with the smallest micron pen. I guess kind of like how young artists really like hyperrealism and think that's the ultimate thing to strive for. But I've come to realize, and this is just my opinion, but those super neat, perfect pen drawings are actually really boring. Like, there's no life and energy to them. If you are interested, look up Wilhelm Busch and Noel Sickles. They're two illustration artists that I didn't discover them too recently, in the past year or so, and they just really inspire me. The reason I got this pen was to maybe make it a bit easier to try and draw like them. You know how most people say that if ever you're feeling a lack of motivation or feel like you're not making any progress in your art, to think back to what like your 10-year-old self would think of what you're doing now and how amazed they would be. But I have to say, I think young me would be appalled with the work I'm doing. I would have just hated it. Like, it's scribbly, it's inaccurate. Why are the lines so big and wiggly? I would have hated it, and I think that's hilarious. Although I could be wrong, there is a bit of an illusion with these drawings that I'm doing. Like, they look rough and wiggly, but there's this core truth to them. There is knowledge that goes into drawing like this. There is a knowledge of perspective, and yeah, there's a lot of skill that goes into this. But younger me probably wouldn't have seen that. I would just maybe see this scribbly mess and not like the line quality because that was all I cared about. Or maybe the illusion would have worked and I would have not really noticed the line quality not being what I like, but seeing that there is this truth, this overall truth to the drawing. I don't know, it's hard to explain. I hope you know what I mean. And I am not at all saying that this is bad line quality. I'm just saying that I would have thought that it is bad line quality because it's not perfectly straight and perfectly controlled. Today, I far prefer this type of line quality. I'm curious to know. Tell me in the comments how your taste in art has changed over the years, and if you think younger you would like the art you're making now. Right now I'm just outlining the plane of the shadow that the truck casts. I think the shadow shape is interesting and important, and it kind of grounds the truck. It shows that it's sitting on a surface and not just floating in the middle of nowhere. But I didn't really want to shade the shadow solid black or hatched. I don't really like hatched lines all that much. So I thought outlining it would be a good compromise. Also, I like all the little smudges and especially the ink drips. Sometimes I do those on purpose, so it's actually kind of nice that it was an accident this time. It tells a bit of a story. I like smudges and ink drips and yellowing pages. It's almost a little sad to me that my materials are archival and they'll never yellow. I would like a sketchbook that yellows but doesn't decay or completely fall apart. Well, I hope you found this video relaxing and enjoyable to watch. Maybe inspired you to sketch in your sketchbook, hopefully. I hope you have a wonderful day.